We've been getting a lot of questions about how can we support our readers and writers at home. And I'm here to talk about one way you can support your readers at home. When you think about once your readers are done with a book, now what? So I'm here to give you 4 tips on what you can do with your reader once they're finished reading a book. One thing that you can support your readers with once they're done reading a book is doing a retell. And you can do retelling in fiction and in nonfiction. So, for example, you might have just read one of our favorites at this house, Let's Go for a Drive by Mo Willems. And you might do a retell, and your retell might sound something like this. You might start with, first, Elephant and Piggy want to go for a drive in a car. And then your child might say, and then they got lots of stuff to go for that drive. And then you might say, like they got a map and they got some suitcases. And then your child might say, and at the end, they figured out they didn't have a car. So they turned everything into a pirate ship and went for a ride on their pirate ship. You also might do a retell of a nonfiction book. Like, let's say you read the Beetle alphabet book and you each picked one of the beetles from the Beetle alphabet book to talk about. Like, I might say one of my favorite beetles is the G beetle. G is for giraffe beetle. And I really like how I learned about how this giraffe beetle has a really long neck. And it uses that neck to roll up leaves. So you could do some retelling in fiction and in nonfiction. Let me give you another tip. After we read, what now? Another thing you can do with your child after you read a book is act out part of the book. You could act out part of a fiction book, like the part where Elephant asks Piggy to get a map, and Piggy says, I'm gonna get the map. So one of you might be Elephant and the other might be Piggy, and if you're Elephant, you might say, get the map! And Piggy might say, I'm getting the map! You could act it out just by yourselves. You could act it out with stuffed animals that you have. You can also act out your nonfiction texts. So talking about the giraffe beetle and thinking about how you can act out that the neck of the giraffe beetle reaches out so it can roll up some leaves. So you might use gestures and act out the things you're learning inside your nonfiction book. Let me give you a third tip. A third tip that I have that you can do after you read a book is that you can talk about your favorite part. In a fiction book, that might sound something like this. My favorite part in Let's Go for a Drive is when Elephant says, we need a map. And then they say, map, map, mappy map, map. You might say in a nonfiction book, my favorite part in the nonfiction book is when I learned that there is a beetle named after my favorite animal, a giraffe. And that giraffe beetle is red and has a really long neck. So you might talk about your favorite parts from your fiction or your nonfiction text. Let me give you one more tip to help support the question of, when we're done, what do we do now? A fourth way you can extend the learning and what you're doing with texts at home is to set your child up to do some rereading. And you might reread your nonfiction text to do some more thinking about what you're learning inside the nonfiction text in the pictures and the words. You also might do some rereading to make your voice sound smooth. In a fiction book, that's going to sound like a storytelling voice. In a nonfiction book, it's going to sound like a teaching voice. You also could do some rereading and use gestures to interact with parts of the text. So you might call out, I need umbrellas, like Elephant says in Let's Go for a Drive. Or you might act out how the giraffe beetle uses those rolled up leaves. The female giraffe beetle lays eggs inside the rolled up. So you might talk about how the leaves are rolled up. So today, families, I'm hoping that you're walking away with 4 ways to answer the question after we read What Now? You can do some retelling with fiction and nonfiction texts. You can act it out. You can talk about your favorite part. You can also set yourselves up to do some rereading. Thanks for listening today. Happy reading.